Okay, guys, welcome to another race weekend of Formula One. This week we have the Belgian Grand Prix. The Spa-Francorchamps circuit. This is one of the most iconic race circuit in the Formula One, other than Monza circuit or the Silverstone circuit. The Spa circuit is the most thrilling and most exciting circuit in the Formula One calendar. So, as I discussed in the preview video of the British Grand Prix, there is the same issue in the Spa circuit also, because the biggest concern of the teams in Belgian Grand Prix is the energy management. As we have discussed in many videos about the 2026 regulation and the problems faced by the teams, and the biggest concerns about the reliability of these new regulations. And also, this Spa circuit is the one of the longest circuit in the Formula One calendar. So the teams are concerned little bit about the energy management or the battery deployment, because there is lesser braking zones in this circuit. Also, in a recent interview, Fernando Alonso has stated that without deployment, the Formula One car is much slower than Formula 2 cars in this Spa circuit. So he have done the simulation, and he might have got the results like that. Not only Fernando, but many drivers have talked about this issue. But comparing to Silverstone circuit, the Spa circuit is almost similar. It's a complete race course, and it is not suitable for this 2026 regulation cars. And somehow in Silverstone, the cars managed to do well, and Ferrari got lucky. But we don't know what would happen in the Spa, because the Spa circuit is much complex. You have heard about the Rouge and Radillion corner sequences, or the hairpin turns in the turn 2, much lesser braking zones compared to other circuits. And overall, it's a speed circuit. So, talking about the history of the Spa circuit, initially it was a 15-kilometer long circuit, and there was a lot of issues related to the length of this circuit. And eventually, the fans wanted the Spa circuit to be the best circuit in the Europe, so that the management have decided to bring some upgrades to the circuit, or they have reduced the length of the circuit. And as of now, we are having a 7-kilometer long circuit. And finally, in 2002, the management have brought a significant or the vast change to the Spa circuit. And until 2025, they have two main DRS zones, that is turn 3 to turn 4, also known as the Kemmel Straight. And the second DRS zones was from turn 15 to turn 17. But in 2026, the FIA have increased the straight mode zones in the circuit. It's 5 straight mode zones in the circuit. The first zone is the start finish straight, and the second one is from turn 1 to turn 2, and the third one is from turn 4 to turn 5, and the other straight mode zone is from turn 15 to 16, and the last one is from turn 17 to turn 18. So as we talked about the different straight mode zones in the circuit, now we have to talk about the battery deployment and the other issues related to the aerodynamics, especially the Red Bull's case. So we have seen multiple crashes of Max Verstappen in the recent races, especially in the Silverstone circuit. And after these crashes, the Red Bull is concerned about the safety of the drivers, and they have decided not to bring the Macarena wings to the Spa circuit. So as we all know, the Spa circuit is already a dangerous circuit, and a lot of drivers have lost their life in this circuit, as we have discussed in the last video. We also know that whenever the flap is closed, there is more drag, so the engine have to give more power to the car. So when it comes to the 2026 regulation cars, the battery have to generate more power to the car, and as a result we can say that the cars will be energy starved in this circuit. So now we have to come back to the Red Bull's case. Red Bull's Macarena wings is not exactly same as Ferrari's, even though Ferrari invented it and Red Bull copied Ferrari's Macarena wings. As you can see in this image, Ferrari's Macarena wing only have two actuators, either on the either side of the wings. But in Red Bull's case, there is a center piece in between the rear wings, which is activating the Macarena wings. So something is not right with the rear wing setup of the Red Bulls. As a result, there is a lot of air accumulating to the rear wings. As a result, in corners, Red Bull is losing grip or the balance in the rear side of the car. That's the reason why Max crashed. As I discussed in the earlier section of this video, Spa circuit is already dangerous. If there is any minute mistake that happen in between the corners or while racing, that will result in a catastrophe. So nobody wants some bad news. So the Red Bull is ditching their Macarena wings for the Belgian Grand Prix. So that said, now we have to move to the next section of the video, discussing about the corners. The first corner of the circuit, that is the Lassour's corner. So the biggest concern of the Lassour's corner is that there is more chance of someone hitting someone, some drivers hitting some other drivers, or anything could happen, or we could see VSC or SC in the initial laps of the race. So this corner is always chaotic. And now we come to the turn 3, 4, 5. There is the most iconic, or the whenever we search about this Spa circuit in Google, we see an image of Rouge and Radillion, a corner sequence where we see an image where a road goes through left and immediate right. So this corner is very famous, and it is very dangerous as well. As we know, many drivers have said that it is an exciting point in the entire circuit, because when the drivers approach the corner, it is straight. When it reaches the Rouge corner, there is a slight elevation, and there is an immediate right turn to the Radillion corner. As a result, the drivers sitting in the cockpit cannot see what's happening in front of them because of the elevation. As a result, there might be a chance of some kind of catastrophe. So as a result, there might be a chance of some kind of catastrophe if there is any barriers in the road, or any debris from the other cars, or if there is any car is broken down there, the driver approaching the corner cannot see the front side. As a result, there might be some kind of crashes could happen. Drivers are more cautious in this corner. As you all know, the modern Formula 1 car is much safer than the older ones, and there is halo and the survival cell, and the cockpit is very secure, even though many drivers are still concerned about the corner. So whenever we talk about Rouge and Radillion, we have to remember one name, the Antoine Hubert. So in 2019 F2 feature race, he got crashed while going through the Rouge, and it was very catastrophic, and he was having a very good friendship with Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc, and even now they are remembering him. And since then, every drivers are remembering him whenever they are racing in Belgium. It is good to remember him. He was such a good talent. So after the Rouge and Radillion corner sequence, we go to the Kemmel Straight. So this corner is also very iconic. So one that we always remember is in 2018, Sebastian Vettel have done an excellent overtake over Lewis Hamilton. So after the Kemmel Straight, here comes the Les Combs, where there is a chicane. So as we all know, the chicanes are like the continuous corners, as we have discussed in the previous videos. In every circuit, chicanes are very exciting because of the continuous corners, and it's an opportunity for professional or the most skilled drivers to take advantage over the other drivers. So we could expect a lot from Max or Lewis or even Charles in this year's Belgian Grand Prix also. So the rest of the corners are most similar to the other circuits, and most of them are high-speed corners, especially the one that looks like the hairpin. That's turn 13. It's also very iconic. Mostly it's very high-speed corners. So nothing more to talk about the corners. So now we have to talk about the main issues that is faced by the teams, especially in the Belgian Grand Prix with the new regulation cars. So let's talk about it. So in order to discuss about the deployment issue in this year's Belgian Grand Prix, we have to talk about the turbo hybrid era, or the regulations up to 2025. So when we are analyzing the data from last year's Belgian Grand Prix of Max and Lando, most of the time battery is recharged by the super clipping or by braking. So lifting and ghosting is done only little times in this circuit. So that's the case about the turbo hybrid era or the DRS era. So now we have to come to this year's new regulations. So as we have discussed in the earlier section of the video about the track, there are 5 different active aero zones in this circuit. So in sector 2 there is only 2 braking zones, which means there is only 2 zones where the battery could recharge from braking. Alright, and coming to the next sector 3, there is 2 straight mode zones. So the car have to recharge enough in those 2 braking zones in the sector 2 in order to survive in this sector 3, because there is no braking zones in sector 3. In addition to that, from turn 14 to turn 18, there is a completely straight mode. Means there is no any other braking zones, or the driver will be in full throttle from turn 14 to turn 18. So that might be the reason why Fernando Alonso would have commented that in this circuit, the Formula 1 car is much slower than Formula 2 cars. Maybe he is right. And this brings me to the decision making or the experience of the drivers. I have discussed that in sector 3, there is not much braking zones. But in sector 2, there is enough braking zones to charge the battery. Is it enough braking zones for the battery to be recharged enough in order to survive in the sector 3. No. So that is where the driver's instinct or the driver's experience or his skill come in. What I mean is, in sector 3 there are corners or there are zones where driver didn't have to be in full throttle. Means he didn't have to deploy the entire battery. So there are zones where he can use a little bit of the battery, or he can conserve the energy, or he can plan like, oh, in next turn I have to overtake the other driver in front of me. He can calculate like, if I use lesser battery now, I can use that deployment in the next turn or the next lap to overtake the driver. No, that is a point where a driver can use his instincts or his decision making skill while in the sector 3 in order to conserve the energy. So that's it about the preview video of the Belgian Grand Prix. It's one of the most interesting circuit or the interesting race in the calendar so far. It is like a thriller race. So according to a latest update from the Formula 1 news, Lando Norris have already got a grid penalty because he have took a new engine for the Belgian Grand Prix, and there are still speculations and rumors going on around Max Verstappen and Red Bull. Like Red Bull would sign Oscar and Max go to McLaren like that. There are still talks going on. So stay tuned for the next video about the Belgian Grand Prix race review and many more updates from Formula 1. And after Belgian Grand Prix, there is a 3 weeks summer break in Formula 1. It's the start of all the rumors, transfer rumors, and the silly season starts. So stay tuned. See you in the next video. Bye.